Hello and thank you for joining me for another episode of Run Level 0. It is April 14th, 2014, and the latest version of MakuluLinux has been posted. We're looking at MakuluLinux 6.0 Mate or Mate Imperium. Imperium coming from the Latin word for power to command. So we're going to take a look at what this latest version of MakuluLinux has to offer. This is the first version to feature the Mate desktop, and it is made with Mate 1.8. Mate, if you're not familiar, is the continuation of the GNOME 2 desktop. When the split happened, GNOME 2 was no longer supported. The GNOME project started focusing on the GNOME 3. There was really a rift created in the Linux community. GNOME 3 is one of those desktops that you either love or you hate. And GNOME 2, let's see, it was really considered by many to be the quintessential Linux desktop. I know it was my first desktop back in Ubuntu. I believe it was 9.04, 9.10 was the first one that I ran. So for many Linux users, the GNOME 2 desktop really was home. Well, Mate picked up that source code and continued on with it and has really taken that GNOME 2 desktop and made it a modern, very much applicable desktop environment in today's modern computing. So I was really surprised and really happy to see Jacques pick this up and add it to MakuluLinux, add it to the list of desktop environments that they offer. So let's take a look at the release notes. Now, Jacques sent me a pre-release copy of it. I've actually been running it for a couple of days now. So it has been released to the public today, but I've actually been running this all weekend, and I must offer apologies. I wanted to bring you guys a sneak peek, but had to work this past weekend, so I really wasn't able to dedicate the time that was needed to properly reviewing the desktop before offering you my opinion on it. And that's one of the things that I am dedicated in my show to actually reviewing the desktop myself before offering you my opinion. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I really can't stand it when you see a distro released and within a matter of hours people are offering up reviews of it. You know, how can someone honestly review a desktop within a couple of hours and then, you know, offer an in-depth, educated review? So anytime you see me offer a review on a desktop, you can rest assured that I've driven the desktop, I've used it for at least a couple of days before you see a review from me. So that's why I was not able to offer that sneak peek for you. But here we go. Let's take a look and see what this Mate edition has to offer, okay? Just a few notes. There are some significant changes in this MakuluLinux. Says the first release of the new 6 series dubbed Imperium, Latin for power to command. Also the first dual mode solo Mate build. This release allows users to customize their settings and software upon installation. Now users can set up their desktop the way they want it with the software they want while still experiencing an out-of-the-box experience. What's really cool about this, when you install the system and the installer has gone through some revisions, now the installer is much more user-friendly. It's gotten some really nice refinements. So when you do the easy installation mode, now by default it will actually offer you to change the username, user password, and host name by default. So it really makes installation a snap on this, and installation for a new Linux user is going to be no problem for MakuluLinux 6. Another thing that they do is after installation on your first run, now there's a customization script that runs that walks you through really setting up your system. And I'm going to skip down here and show what this does. It allows you to set your repository location. It's going to ask you what country you're in, and it's going to set your repositories to your closest one. So you're going to get the fastest software installation and system updates possible. Then it updates the repositories, updates your system for you. then it gives you the option of a full or bare bones system switcher. You can rerun this utility at any time, but what this full or bare bones system switcher does, MakuluLinux Mate is built around the same core of excellent applications that has become standard in MakuluLinux. But by using this option, if you want to strip the system down to just bare bones, you can do that. So if you want to build your own customized set of applications, you can strip out, the Office, the multimedia, the internet applications. You can strip all that stuff out back to a bare bones Makulu system. So that's really nice. It puts those decisions in the user's hands. You also have the option of turning the system animation on and off. That's going to be those nice, beautiful Compiz eye candy, the wobbly windows, the desktop cube. You can turn that on and off, as well as the wallpaper changer and the dock bar. So this version has really taken the what has become one of my favorite Debian-based distributions and just made it all the more customizable. I mean, it really puts the decisions into the hands of the users, and Jacques has really done a good job at that. So it is still based on Debian testing, has Mate 1.8, features the 3.13 PAE kernel. So let's close this out and fire up that virtual and see what this has to offer. Logging in, we're greeted by a traditional desktop layout that those coming over from Windows or another operating system will find easy to navigate. Now, being that this is Mate, it is distinctly Linux, and there will be a slight learning curve for new users. Those that are used to Linux, those that are more experienced in Linux, you'll feel right at home here. So let's take a tour of this desktop and see what it has to offer. Again, this is a traditional layout. We have one primary desktop with a couple of icons on that desktop, one to the home folder, another to the trash. You have Docky running across the top here, and you have icons. Now these first three icons here, application installer, application remover, and application search, as well as the animation on and off, these are all custom scripts that Jacques wrote himself. The application scripts are GUI front ends to the apt-get terminal program. They'll help you install and remove and search applications. The animation on and off will allow you to control the Compiz settings to turn on or off your eye candy desktop animations, your desktop cube, wobbly windows, and the like. You have the wallpaper settings, Kaja, which is the file browser for Mate, Leafpad text editor, the Penta image editor, as well as shortcuts to the excellent Kingsoft Office suite, Thunderbird for your email client, and the Steam playing environments. That's for your Linux gaming. On the right hand side, this nice big date and clock is brought to you by the Variety wallpaper changer, as is these inspirational quotes that'll change from time to time on your desktop. Across the bottom we have our one panel. In the lower right hand corner, this icon is actually a shortcut to the Sling's Cold Slingshot menu, which when we activate it gives you a full screen menu that is searchable. So this is actually pretty nice. If you like Slingshot, I like having this actual this more options on the desktop for my menu. You do have a more traditional menu available, which we'll get to in a moment, but this Slingshot really, I like it. I like having the full screen menu. I don't use it that often personally. I don't know why. I mean, it is a good functional menu system, but it's nice having that available. And if you don't like it, you can always just right click and remove it from the panel. Moving on, we have our calendar and clock, battery monitor if applicable. This right here is for your Ethernet connection or wireless, your network connection settings. This is the Variety wallpaper changer. So if you open this and go into Preferences, just want to cover a couple of things right quick. This is where you're going to change some of your settings. You can opt to start or not have Variety Start when the computer starts up. You can have it automatically change the wallpaper for you and change to a random wallpaper on start. This is also where you're going to tell Variety where to pull the wallpapers from. And if you go over to Effects, this is also where you can turn on or off the quote and the clock if you choose. So I've turned those off. You see they've disappeared. So all of that is easily customizable here. You have your update status to let you know if you have any updates available for your system, and your volume control. And this central portion is where open windows are going to be displayed. And moving over to the left side of the panel, again we have a shortcut to the file browser. Chromium web browser. Now just a note about this, if you do decide to run this in a virtual box, you do not want to use this Chromium launcher. There is another Chromium launcher for Chromium on Linux, and when you first run or when you first boot into MakuluLinux Mate, it's going to ask you if you're running this in a virtual box, and if you are, it's going to create a launcher for you for Chrome in virtual, and we're going to take a look at that in just a minute. So that's a worthwhile note. If you run this in a virtual from this particular launcher, it will freeze your system. You have an access to the Mate terminal, as well as a shortcut to update your system. So if you want to run and make sure your system's running up to date, you can launch that right from here, and it will fully update your system with a single click. So that is very handy. And there is a Iconify Windows button or a Show Desktop button here. In the lower left hand side, we have access to the Mint menu, which is a more modern searchable menu system for the Mate desktop environment. It does support pinning favorites, or you can show all applications. Of course, there's shortcuts in the menu for your system locations, your home folder, network, desktop, trash, as well as the software manager. Now the primary software manager for MakuluLinux is the Mint Software Center, which is a very user-friendly software manager. It does support theming. It does take a couple of moments to come up. Again, this is running in a virtual 2 gigabytes of RAM and 2 dedicated processors, so it does run very well. So it would be applicable or suitable for an older system. And the Mint Software Center, one of the things that I look for in a distribution, whether especially one that I'm going to recommend to new users, does it have a user-friendly software manager? And this Mint Software Manager is very user-friendly, in that it offers, you can search it. So if you're looking for Firefox, you can just type it in here and search, and it'll pull up the results for you. But this categorization here is really nice. So if you're looking for browsers, you can just click on Internet, and then it's subcategorized into email, web packages, and it even offers popular suggestions, and there's your Firefox right there. So yeah, that's very user-friendly. But if you are a more advanced user, MakuluLinux does include the Synaptic Package Manager, which is probably one of the more robust package management systems available for an app-based system like Debian or Ubuntu. So it's nice. So you have 3 means of managing your software. You have, of course, Synaptic. You have the Mint Software Center, but you also have Jacques custom scripts up here. So managing packages and updating your system is not going to be a problem. Plenty of options there. You have access to the Mate Control Center, which is an excellent control center, very much user-friendly. You have the wobbly windows going on there, and that can be controlled in the Compiz Manager. So you can control and customize those desktop effects however you like. I mean, Jacques has done a really good job at putting this system together. Moving on, You have access to the terminal, lock screen, log out, and your session manager where you can quit or reboot your system. So let's take a look at a couple of the applications here. MakuluLinux 6, Imperium is built around the same excellent set of core applications that I've really come to love in MakuluLinux. There's stuff in here that you really don't find anywhere else. You have Cherry Tree, which is a hierarchical note-taking system. Conky is installed, even though it's not on by default. You do have the excellent Conky manager. So if you want to, you can get Conky started up on your desktop. Let's see, we also have Leafpad, again, which is your advanced text editor. It's one of my favorite. The Sling's Cold Slingshot menu, as well as Sunflower. Sunflower is a great alternate file browser, and especially if you're working on a large number of files, copying or moving a large number of files, this thing is great. I really like Sunflower, and I haven't seen it installed anywhere else. Moving on, there are several games installed by default, but also you have Play on Linux and Steam installed and configured out of the box. That is awesome. For graphics, Eye of Mate Image Viewer and Penta are installed. For Internet, now remember folks, I mentioned before about the Chromium browser. Here's the Chromium 4 virtual box. So if you're running this in a virtual, you may want to remove the standard Chromium launcher and replace it with that Chromium 4 virtual box. You have Deluge for your BitTorrent. Dropbox is installed for you, as well as the excellent FlareGit download manager. Iceweasel is installed, so you have an alternate web browser. Mozilla for your email client. Mumble for voice chat. NitroShare for file sharing, and the Pigeon Internet messaging client. For Office, you do have access to the excellent Kingsoft Office suite, which, you know, this is fully Microsoft compatible, and if I'm not mistaken, this does actually save your files by default in the Microsoft formats. So that's excellent if you're a college student or you do a lot of office work where you're sharing documents. Kingsoft is really good. Wine is configured, and Wine Tricks. For sound and video, you have Audacious, Brasero for your optical media burning, Handbrake for transcoding your DVD, Blu-ray, and other media. Let's see, Minitube for watching YouTube videos. P2V, this is a nice audio or video editing suite. P2V is really good. VLC Media Player and VocoScreen for screencasting. There's a variety of system tools installed, which includes BleachBit. I recommend you use BleachBit on a regular basis to keep your system clean, to clean out those cached internet files and that sort of thing, just to keep your system clean, running smooth, and more secure. Let's see, there are scripts for you to change the root and user password easily. These are more custom scripts. Let's see, you can turn Docky on or off. Just a wide variety of useful system utilities. Here's another custom script to repair your repository, so if you run into any issues, that'll help you out right there. Under administration, there is a boot repair utility. Gparted is installed for handling your partitions. This is especially useful for use on thumb drives. You can customize your Grub boot launcher and your login window settings. This is just an excellent all-around desktop environment. I really like Mate Imperium. I'm so glad that MakuluLinux has included this as an option in their desktop environments. If you're coming over from Windows as a new user and you're looking for something, you know, beyond the standard Ubuntu desktop environment and Ubuntu derivatives, you know, if you really want to get your feet wet in a rolling release distro, one that you can install once and that'll always be up to date, MakuluLinux is really nice. As far as Debian systems go, pure Debian systems can be a little dry. And for a new user, the open source philosophy of Debian, where you're not going to have your proprietary drivers installed and your codecs and that sort of thing, that can be a bit of a hassle for a new user. MakuluLinux is taking care of all that for you. So as far as a new user being introduced to Linux in a rolling release environment, Makulu would probably be my top choice for those new users. If you're an advanced user, Makulu makes an awesome environment because you can customize the system however you want, especially in the Linux or in the MakuluLinux 6 environment, this Imperium environment, where they really give you the option of starting off with a bare bones system now. That first run utility really makes an advanced user, really gives an advanced user a lot more options for customizing their own system. So I highly recommend this. Please download it, give it a try, give me your feedback, let me know what you think. Well, this has been the Run Level 0 review of MakuluLinux 6 Imperium with the Mate desktop environment. Thank you for joining me today. I hope to be with you soon for another video.